Tune every time, say ooh, ooh.
Yeah, not every day, but once in a week, voices of note get up and speak. They tell stories, these voices, you know. So, listen up now. Listen up to the show. For voices that move and voices that shape, this is the show. This is My Mixtape. Soup here on Radio Valley 99.9 FM with the show My Mixtape. As always on Friday evening. Behind the controls, the board operator is NC Tile, as always. And obviously, this is that part of the show where I introduce my guest. And let me just say this much, that, you know, some of the best known names today are the names of, popular singers, usually Riksar singers. So you have your Ogi Pandey and your Chanchi Chodhan and Minzun Hum and all of them. None of them would be household names today if it weren't for the pioneering efforts of this one man, who I have to say was responsible to a large degree for, the growth and development of Bhutanese music. It is my pleasure to welcome on my show today an old friend, somebody I've always looked up to in many ways, Tashi Norbu of Tashi Norbu fame. Welcome to My Mixtape.
Oh, Lasso, thank you.
All right, so tell us then right now, Tashi Norbu, what is happening right now with you? I mean, what are you busy? What keeps you busy these days?
Well, a lot of activities that I try to keep myself busy with. Those days, there was a time when I was really busy with as you mentioned, about being a pioneer in the music, film, and into live performances in Bhutan. So Tashi Norbu was established in the year 1987, and since then we have moved ahead, and then after many years, after so much of success, I also received an award in Japan for the Arts and Culture Award, which was a gold medal. Ultimately, there was a time when my son, I would say, he passed away. So then there was a break with Tashi Norbu for quite some time, and it's been a few years now. While I have all the costumes of all the regional dances, the ethnic dances from all parts of Bhutan, we have almost everything which even let's be frank, which even the Royal Academy doesn't have.
Okay.
And now I feel that we must, a lot of people said that you must go, now you must go ahead, you're the pioneer, you have received an award, now you cannot let it go, So I've been just wondering if I should restart Tashi Norbu again.
Okay.
Because all the mass dances, the costumes, the dresses, almost everything, the mask and everything is there, all packed up in all in the trunk, So all hung up, all the instruments, right from the Bhutanese damnin to tipchiwang, yangchin, and everything is just lying idle like this now. So I thought now I should start. I'm just wondering what to do now.
Okay. Let's just put this into perspective now. For many of you younger listeners and watchers now on YouTube of the show, in the 80s, I think that's probably about the time, especially the late 80s, that's probably about the time when Riksar music more or less had its birth, at that time, to a large extent. I know your father, who we will talk about at greater length in the later part of the show. I know your father was responsible in many ways, for development of music and restoration of Shungda and Pedra forms of music. Tashi Norbu became a household name in the 80s and well into the 90s as well for bringing out music, and this is at a time when digital technology wasn't available. So it was unimaginable to think at that time that anybody would have a recording studio even. And Tashi Norbu in that way was a legitimate pioneer. So many of the first Riksar songs that we heard at that time came from the house of Tashi Norbu, along with, I think Nordling was also doing quite a bit also. Right, at Nordling, yes, and then there was you at Tashi Norbu. Just so that people understand it, try and talk us through how was it in those days. I mean, what made you do something that nobody else was doing? You know, this
okay, last to mention about this. I in the 1970s, when I passed out from Kalimpong, then I went to Shillong for my college. After coming out from college, then I thought that was the time when I received a few letters from the Bollywood asking me if I was interested, and that was the time when Danny had also just joined the film industry. And then I received like R.K. Burman and all. They saw a few of my shows and dramas, and then I got to know them very closely.
So hold on. Let me just bring due attention to that.
Yes.
You received an invitation from Bollywood.
Yes.
Wow.
That was...
to act.
Yes.
Wow.
Then I was supposed to go and do my training in Pune.
Okay.
So then I thought... I gradually started thinking to myself, I could speak fluent Hindi.
Right.
I could write, I could sing a lot of songs which was appreciated by many, many people in Darjeeling and Kalimpong.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, a little popular those days. And then this was how it started. And then I thought, now, it doesn't make any sense for me to go to the Bollywood, to Bombay or to Pune and start acting. Then I gradually thought, why not start this all these things? Because I was really into it. I loved acting, I loved singing, I loved sports. Also, let me also mention that I still hold a lot of records.
Okay. That's something I didn't know.
Like the javelin, high jump in the district Darjeeling.
Wow.
So then I thought, I think I must probably start this in my own country. Why go and do it in other people's? And then I discussed with my father about it. Of course, my father wanted, since he was a retired colonel, he wanted me to. I wanted to join the army, but then he didn't allow me because he said we are old, father, mother. Then I have a big monastery. Who would look after you? You're the only son. So that was how he kept me away from the uniform force.
Okay.
Then I said, okay, then if that is the case, then might as well, go start a music recording studio and, a few performers and also film industry. And that was how I produced first, before getting into music. I did the film industry and I started one of the first movies, I Want to Get.
Okay.
Then after
I remember that. Yes, I remember that now.
After I Want to Get, then I did Gukor, Daubusu, and then Gukor, where Poverty became very famous. And then in between, while I was doing my filming, then I started doing audio cassette recordings in my studio. And then at the same time, then we started doing a lot of music cassettes. Those days we didn't have CDs, but a lot of music cassettes came out. And then after that, again, I went into films. I produced another movie. And gradually then we started the live performances. Got a group of boys and girls. And then that is how Tashi Norbu gradually came up, and that's how we began.
Right. Was it sheer coincidence that your initials, Tashi Norbu, matched that of Tashi Norbu, TN?
Well, TN, I gave the logo TN because my name is Tashi Norbu, so TN, and Tashi Norbu, TN. So that is what I thought.
Okay.
And yes.
Right. So, again, just to set the record straight, your initial foray into the entertainment business was through films.
Yes.
Right. So, Ab Want to Get, I remember that. It must have been so difficult those days. I mean, you were shooting on video, essentially, right? And there was no such acting talent, no base. You just went out on a whim, decided, okay, this guy might be able to act, that person might be able to act, somebody might be able to write the script, somebody might be able to, it was initial days, everybody was fresh at what they were doing.
Yes.
It was just testing. So you were fresh, the script writer must have been fresh, the lighting people must have hardly known what they were doing also, but it was a crazy time that way if you really think about it. But I mean, why would you want to do something like that? Something that nobody's done, and get a whole bunch of people to do things nobody's done before.
Just as I just mentioned, those days, as I said, it was better I do it in my own country than outside. Everything was so challenging. Challenging, why? So. Because we did not have a film director, we did not have a light man, we did not have sound man, we did not have a makeup man. So I must say that it was a one-man show. Of course, I would agree that our Bhutanese people are very, very talented. You tell them to say, okay, I want you to say this word, and I want you to do this. I'm shocked because the way they come out, their output is so terrific that they come with something extra all the time. And then when you edit, and of course we did not have an editing machine, and I must also mention that those days when I shot a film, we did not have these digital cameras, and it was shot on a basic, a very, very simple handycam.
The Sony handycams.
Yeah, the ones which the tourists carry around.
Right.
And
the
then,
small little tapes in there.
So then after that, we had the thing, editing. When it came to editing, I did it on 2 decks.
Okay.
Connected a tape recorder as a music.
Okay.
And then those days we had this DSCD called, Mr. Palden.
Yes.
Sonam.
Yes.
Palden, Mr. Chimidoji, who made Gasala Missing. They said, oh, Mr. Tashi, I don't think this is possible. They said, no way. How can you edit on a deck like this? I said, it doesn't matter. I will try. I kept trying. I kept trying and trying, of course. And finally, the output, everybody in Bhutan loved it. Mainly His Majesty, the 4th King. I believe he also took the tape to Royal Grandmother and said, oh, Tashi has made this. I must let my grandmother see it.
Oh, nice.
And Royal Grandmother called me up and she said, I'm so happy. It's so wonderfully made that she even gave me a few presents. The go, and so many other things. So this is how it was done.
Wow. Where there is a will, there is a way.
Exactly.
And you found a way.
Yes.
Just a way to do it.
Yes.
And I think it would be legitimate also to point out that you had an eye for talent as well. I mean, one of the best known household names in the world of entertainment right now in Bhutan is Puvatile. Who was your discovery, more or less? I mean, of course, he had already made a reputation for himself of being with Rapa, all of that, but it was in the film, what was it? Gukur.
Yes.
Right? That's the one with Job Sencha and Gau Manke. Right, and he's the Gau Manke in that one. I remember that, yes. I also remember when I watched that film, it was the first time I saw a fight scene that was so realistic. I mean, yeah. I mean, normally you would have imagined, because fight scenes need to be choreographed and all of that. It gets a little artificial, but that was like, they were picking up objects in the immediate area, picking up a zum and hitting each other with stuff like that. It was very well done. I remember that, and of course, the plot itself had a lot of twists and turns in it as well. So, I mean, a name like Puvatile, for example, is legitimately your discovery. And do people like him, pay you the due credit?
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Not only Puvatile, many people like many people like Lhamadukpa and Gyum Doji,
right?
who were they had just passed from Kangdong, the Sherapche College. And then during the winters, they were here and they had nothing to do, so they came to Tashi Norbu and wanted to do some recording. And so I said, sure, you're most welcome. And then that was how I would say that is how the rehearsal started. Because they had more, I was more into cultural, old traditional songs and dances. While our Kangdong pass outs, they wanted to mainly do on, like the taxi, and they had the recording also.
And Tasha Shera, they were the
so then I said, okay, now we will do that, but then gradually. So I must be very frank. I think probably they didn't like it because I was more into culture.
Yes.
And so then they left for Norling, and that was how Norling came up. La.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Now that I remember it clearly, the most of the Riksar tapes back then used to come out from Norling. It was,
Yes.
It wasn't until many years later that Tashi also got into it. It took some time though. All right, but of course this show is my mixtape. Actually, it's your mixtape. So let's take a look at your playlist then. First up, you have. Wow, a classic. This is Eric Clapton's Wonderful Tonight. Tell us, Tashi, why is this on your playlist, number one?
Wonderful Tonight. That's, I would say, this is one of my most favorite songs because I used to, in school, I used to mainly sing a lot of Elvis songs.
Okay.
But then later, after I heard Wonderful Tonight, it became one of my most favorite songs.
All right. This is a school where?
In Kalimpong.
Right. Which school was this?
St. Augustine's.
Okay, so you're a Sassonian then?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So that was when I sang in school, and then I later sang in Shillong also.
Right. In your college days.
Yes, college days. And those were I would say the college days and the hero days.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were in two places that were already very rich in musical culture.
Yes.
Darjeeling as well as Shillong.
Yes.
They're extremely the wealth of talent, musical talent that exists in these places is amazing. I remember when I had a band and we toured Delhi for probably the third time it was, and then we went off then to Shillong. So we were sharing the stage on that evening with two other bands. One was from Myanmar, probably the best known band in Myanmar, a very senior band. They've been playing together for more than 30 years, a band called Emperor. And then there was this very young band, all girls, from Shillong. And after the girls took the stage, we did not want to get up on that stage. We just didn't want to look bad. That's how good they were. Right, so you had that advantage as well.
Yeah, in Shillong those days, when I was there was a band called The Blood and Thunder.
Right, obviously
they were
I remember.
One of the most famous.
Yes.
I think almost all over India, they were one of the most famous bands.
This is the Lou Majo band, was it?
Yes.
And he's, of course, one of the best known names when it comes to rock music in India. All right, so let's check out then Wonderful Tonight. All right, not every day, but once in a week, voices of note get up and speak. They tell stories, these voices, Listen up now, listen up to this show for voices that move and voices that shape. This is the show. This is my mixtape. Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton, an unforgettable classic. And speaking of classics, this is a song that was part of, in fact, the very first song on the playlist of a man who himself may be regarded as a classic. We're talking right now on my mixtape with my guest. For those of you who tuned in late on radio, my guest is Tashi Norbu, the founder of Tashi Norbu Studios. Right, Tashi, of course, we were talking about, the early days and when Tashi Norbu was established and all of that. You were also mentioning that you were more into the traditional forms, the Peda and the Junda, more than the Riksar initially. Could that possibly have been a consequence of your father's influence?
In a way, yes.
Less.
And on the other hand, I thought, as you've seen my movies, I'm more into tradition, more like culture.
Right.
Be it a film, be it a music, be it an audio cassette, or live performances, we are mostly into tradition. Why? Because I thought when we see films from the outside world, you'll notice that there is too much of modernization. And culture is being lost, And that was, of course, it was my father's advice also that I should, by any means, try and keep this culture alive. And he being one of the first main composers of music and dances, he was with the Second King for almost 15 years, and it's I was told by my father that he was always made to dance or to sing or to play the guitar. And then also the mass dances, which a lot of old people know about, when his master was in Kungaraptin and then used to go up to Tongsa. So that is when I believe his master always said he had a special name called Tongdala. That was when his master was in a good mood.
Okay.
I believe he said, Tongdala, get, and start a song or a dance. And then I believe gradually his master also used to join in. And then during archery games, I believe my father was always, made to entertain, wearing the costume of a lady's costume.
Right.
Three, four of them there to entertain his master. And his master, I believe, used to love it, so much.
Right.
Anyway.
We're talking about His Majesty the Third King.
No, the second king.
The second king, okay.
And then gradually from there, then he was sent to Shillong also as to learn all the band, and then to Madhya Pradesh, Panchgani. Madhya Pradesh, yeah. There he was, within a year he had learned all the instruments, from the bagpipe to the brass band to the drums to almost everything. And then after he came back to Bhutan, then that was when he composed a lot of Bhutanese songs, and of course the national anthem of Bhutan. And then that was how, and his advice was to me as a son. He said, my dear boy, you must remember that we must try and keep our culture alive. And I still remember what he said, and even now I can feel that. And when I see or hear too many of the modern, it is still painful, but then you can't, because we have to balance more. And of course, as I said, we received an award in Japan. The recognition from Japan was a very, very high one.
Yes.
And sadly, of course, I don't know, for reasons which I do not know, the government of Bhutan, our country, did not recognize people like us. So then I started feeling that, probably people I think they love modernization more than modern songs and dances more than our traditional ones. And that probably must be one of the reasons. Of course, I feel that why I think I should put a full stop, and that is how, because otherwise we could have been the ones to balance the modern and tradition, because I had a mixture of both.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Both, who wanted to do modern films, who wanted to do modern songs, who wanted to do everything now. And we could have balanced, and of course, people like us, we could have kept the tradition, at least whatever said and done, to a certain level where we could challenge the modernization.
I think you were probably successful in that respect, really, you were. And therefore, you carried that torch that your father bore so responsibly and so capably. I think you bore it equally as capably, And of course, when we talk about Tashi Norbu's father, we're talking about none other than a man who was an institution unto himself, Apstongmi. Which wasn't his real name, actually, was it?
He was actually called Doji.
Right, yes.
Then later, when he was with the king, then I believe his master called him Akutongmi.
Right, okay. He is, again, one of those characters who has gone down in history. As you pointed out, he created the tune for the national national anthem right now. The anthem that we sing, that we see on television, that we hear on the television every day, that was created by your father. It was derived from a folk song initially. It was
a little bit of tune.
Yeah, a little bit of the tune, right, which had some sort of choreography to it as well. But he was also primarily responsible for building Bhutan's defense system to a large degree. He was the first colonel of the Royal Bhutan Army.
Yes.
The first ever places that again, like Tinchiling military training ground, like Dadimaka here in Thimphu, the Luntunfu RBA headquarters. All of this were established under his wing, more or less. So he had multiple responsibilities, defense on one side, management of the army and all of that on one side. And on the other side, again, being so enthusiastic about the creative arts, about music. He was a champion of Bhutanese music as well. Quite an extraordinary figure, your father. Do you sometimes feel that you had extreme, or did you or sometimes feel that you had extremely big shoes to fill?
Well, I do feel sometimes.
Yes.
As mentioned about the defense, when he was in the army, he was the first man to wear the army uniform, and the first man to start the army with a few about 12 people. And that was
12 people.
Only. That was what he told me. Only.
Right.
And then those days they did not have pants, and like they had the boku and the below, and the Bhutanese below. And,
right.
And that was how it started. And gradually then the armed force started increasing. And then I must also mention about a hat that he has.
A hat?
Okay. His colonel's hat.
Right.
It has, it was His Majesty himself, I believe, designed that hat. And on the crown you can see the skull with all the fire.
Right.
So his hat has that in the front.
Okay.
Which nobody has on.
Okay, that's our motive. Okay.
Yes. So I've kept all those to display someday in a museum.
Wow. Yeah, I should be. You should. As you again pointed out also, I want to get back. I will talk at later length about your father and all. But again, the point over here right now that I want, just picking up on what you've been saying, is that, you have veritable pieces in your possession that are museum pieces, something like your father's hat, for example. And again, another indication of how much of an institution Tashi Norbu became also is because you were saying you have some, artifacts in your collection that even the Royal Academy of Performing Arts doesn't have. That just goes to show you the wealth, the traditional wealth and artistic wealth that lies, that is attached to the name Tashi Norbu, and it is, I understand, as you said, you've taken a break for a number of years, but it's a shame that so many young people out there don't know of Tashi Norbu and how important a role it played in the preservation of our culture. Now, let me just put this again into perspective. Again, I'm winding on, but it's important, I think. We're talking about preserving culture at a time when we recognized here in Bhutan that we had no military strength, no economic strength.
No.
We had these two huge neighbors. The threat of being culturally dominated as well as economically dominated in world affairs by our neighbors was very real. And there was only one thing that kept us unique, and that would safeguard our sovereignty. And that was our culture.
Yes.
And your father was at the forefront of that challenge of wielding the torch, as it were. So other names come to mind, like Lempo Tamji Jagar, for example. I think your father was one of those other characters also, whose name must be written in history in that respect, I think. So that's why I was asking you the question. Was it an influence of your father that you were more drawn towards the traditional forms than to the modern form?
Yeah, probably it could be that. That's what I feel, because I would not say that I don't like modernization.
Right.
As I mentioned about the songs that I sang in school and most of the actings that I've done, I would have loved modern songs and dances. But then, as I mentioned, to keep it alive, had our government taken a little initiative in people like us who've been into culture, we could have, even now, we could have still shown. Now you can see only Royal Academy and a few people who have passed through from me.
Right.
They are trying to do that. But they're also, when you think of the modern songs and dances now, I think they're also secondary, not getting much of a limelight.
Right.
So, because of all these things, then, and then to mention of my father, of course, as you mentioned, of the military centers that he established, and during the Tibet invasion, when the Tibetans were running away down to Bhutan. He was the main person there with a few armies, and that was how he solved the problem with his requesting His Majesty, and then he probably knew a lot of very very high lamas those days,
right?
Rinpoches, lamas, who were into music, who loved music, who liked to, who composed music.
Okay.
And he was with them basically. And that was how, then he was also made to compose for them and sometimes to sing for them.
Okay.
And Abdaupe, who's also a very well-known person, was a student of him.
Yes.
Or my father, Abdaupe received an award, and he came with the award to my father and said, "Not me, you should have received this, Tasho." I said, "No, I think it's for you, not for me. For me, ultimately now I'm at an going age. I think my God and my prayers are more important, Right. I remember that very clearly.
Okay.
And Daupe at his very old age also, he used to always come with a damyin, and there were some songs which he still could not, some songs which he did not know. And he kept for hours sitting in front of my father with his head bent, and he was learning the tune and the lyrics.
Wow.
I remember that. And then some of the songs that he had composed for some of the very high lamas. Like,
well, right.
You're getting old. The songs, I'm getting old, forgetting very soon,
Right. Speaking of which, I'm forgetting to play your music as well. Let's move on to your playlist. The second song on your playlist is, you told me you sang Elvis songs in school and college. So it's an Elvis song. I'm not surprised to see that here. Suspicious Minds. Tell us about this. Why is this on your playlist?
This was one of the songs that I sang also. I like the tune very much, and I sang many other songs like Burning Love, Lord Almighty,
Feel my temperature rising.
Burning, I feel it right in my soul.
Nice.
Burning love,
Yeah.
Anyway, Suspicious Mind.
Right, okay. It has always been my contention that you can sing Elvis songs better in the peak of winter if you take off your jacket and you're shivering.
Oh, really? More?
I tried it actually. I found I could sing Elvis songs better that way. All right, so let's check out then Elvis's Suspicious Minds. Alright, not every day, but once in a week, Voices of Note get up and speak. They tell stories, these voices, Listen up now, listen up to this show for voices that move and voices that shape. This is the show. This is my mixtape. Righto. Rolling back the years here on my mixtape, talking to my guest Tashi Norbu, having a wonderful time over here. Like I said, rolling back the years, and so many of those things that were childhood memories for me.
Yes.
I have to credit either you or your father. I mean, one of the things that we used to look forward to every time there was, a National Day celebration or His Majesty's birthday celebration at Chungdam-Dong, we'd say, "Bazola tago." We love to see the marching band, and they looked splendid as well. So you saw the bagpipes, and then you saw the trombones, and all the brass instruments, and they'd be marching in formation while they were playing, and that again was a spectacle that most of us used to love. And of course then you have the band leader with the baton and all of that. Wonderful stuff, and one of the highlights of entertainment in those days, in those national events. And that is again owed a lot to your father, right?
No.
He was sent out on training to learn, and like you said, he did it all in 1 year. That's amazing.
That's amazing. That was what his master was also very happy with him.
And then came back to form the first marching band. Wow. Who would have thought, from a personal point of view, I find bagpipes extremely attractive.
Yes.
Not only in the way they look,
yes.
but even the way they sound.
Yeah.
They're just a very unique instrument, and I am so happy even now, to see the marching band with the bagpipes and all that. And like I said, I owe that memory to a large extent to your father,
Thank you.
Who was the pioneer in that sense. So you would hardly imagine that somebody of a military background would have that sort of, creative impulse and that creative genius to be able to pick up all these instruments within a year. I mean, what was it like in your house? Was your father like always playing with an instrument, or what was it like when growing up?
I still have a few of his instruments.
Okay.
And I remember those days when we were very young, we were small children. He would of course teach us how to sing and to dance, and and he would play his saxophone, and very, very attractive, and also his bagpipe. And then of course gradually as he started aging, then he could not keep up his breath. And I still remember, even at his very old age, a lot of the band, the people in the band who were learning had to come to him because the finger movements. There was a Punjabi person who was after my father, who was instructor.
Okay.
And he, of course, went mostly into this Indian style,
Right, okay.
His fingering and whatever.
Right.
And that was how. Then I believe, of course, they had to come to my father and ask him a lot of questions and start, learning from the basic things,
Okay.
Because what the Punjabi taught was he started teaching Hati Mera Sati, and I don't know if you remember doing that. Remember?
Yes.
During the coronation time.
Chal Mera Hati, oh Mera Sati, yes.
So most of the music, the players.
Okay.
They were mostly, they were taught the Hindi style.
Right.
And it was not blending with the Bhutanese singing.
Okay.
So they had to come, and a couple of times I remember when my father was even invited down there to the Singla, to the band gay.
Right.
What is
training. Right.
Training area, more.
Right.
So I also remember that those days we were very small children, and all the instrument players used to be in Chungdam-Dong. There was a very long table where the drummers used to go put on their nose, count again. And that the same way, then even the instruments, how. So that was how, and then I used to always be holding his hand, when he was with a stick, as a bandmaster he was. So I used to be holding his hand, and that was, I think, probably that motivated me.
Okay.
And besides, then I was also told, I don't know, a lot of people said that at an age of 11 he was picked up by His Majesty to come and join the army, and he was actually an orphan boy.
Lost.
No father, no mother. He lost his mother also.
Okay.
When he was a very small boy, he lost his father. Then at an early age, he lost his thing.
Okay.
Then he was brought up by his. So I think probably that was, what I don't know what to say, but it's fate more, inborn challenge,
Right.
So which I feel the things that I do also, I feel that a little bit of his talent has come to me, or he's passed it down to me. I don't know.
Well, your father is an extremely religious man also.
Yes.
Today we, just have to look up from the Centennial Farmers Market and look at the Santa Peri. And that is, again, one of his standing legacies. Right. That entire area, we've always associated it as, Akutongmi's area, always. So and today, if you go over there, a lot of religious ceremonies and rituals are conducted there on a regular basis.
Yes.
It's become a melting pot of people from all over the country who come over there, elderly especially. And on Tuesdays, of course, people from everywhere, they come over there. And again, that is something that is owed in large part to not only your father but to your entire family, for keeping that place alive. I understand he had done practically everything that he wanted to, but there was one or two things that he felt he wanted to but could not do somewhere in the Santa Pe really. Can you elaborate on that? What was it? A prayer hall, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The prayer hall.
Right.
He wanted to, because we used to have, during his last days, he was into a lot of religious activities,
Last.
He put a lot of money all over Bhutan.
Right.
Then he built a very, very big a monastery in his village in King.
Last.
In King Digila, where it's very, very far, everything had to be carried, which got burned down.
Okay.
And
How
some
unfortunate.
now some people say that it probably was his fate, as I said. Had that his monastery still remained in his village, he might have probably not built the one here.
Yeah.
The one
Right,
here in
right.
Tingla.
Right.
And Chapchi Dinjum, as you must have heard of the battle that took place, the Battle of Chungdam-Dong, like in history you learn about it.
Yes.
And it is believed, I remember my father telling me how Alup Doji and Pinop Pinsa Doji, the Pinop Pinsa Doji wanted to have a meeting there. And that was a place, it's called the Shenzom, the meeting place.
Okay.
And it seems His Majesty Yugunochu was on the other side where the river views, the hotel.
Okay.
There, I believe he was with all this thing, and then Shenzom, the Kutsu gas. That's what a lot of people told me, and my father said the same thing.
Okay.
And then Seja dance, that was the time then they wanted to Kupse Chapshe, not the king, but his representative.
Right.
So how then Kupse Imdev was as he bent down to serve tea, he wanted to take his pata out. Then I believe he got stuck on the kapni, how Kupse Imdev so he took out his dozumen, and that was how then the battle broke out, and then so many people died there. And later when then he took a little bit of soil from all over the place, and when he sent it to Chapji Dinjum and said that I want to build a monastery, Your Holiness, the Kateve Daga Soda, then Chapji Dinjum says, Shinto Zang, Sami, because a lot of people have lost their lives there. It would not only benefit the country, but as all sentient beings. Then then he built first. Chapji has said that if one thing you do remember, that if you can build very well and good, you do it. If you cannot, you just build a chetan, So that is how the chetan was built. Because he said he had no income. He said, how could I do it now? But he left a space between the old monastery, the old temple, the Dungko temple, and the chetan. There was an empty space there. So gradually, then he said, no, I must do it. And that is how he started, and amazingly he started, and it got so successfully.
Right.
And that is the actual spot where Pinop Pinso Doji had lost his life.
Okay.
And Alup Doji and Pinop Pinso Doji, you say the Marus, the cousins, through marriage. So Alup Doji was supposed to be the lord of Thimphu. Pinop Pinso Doji Pav Aniboda. Then Alup Doji, after hearing the Pinso Doji life, then he had to he had to flee Bhutan, and he had gone to Tibet.
Right. Wow. Getting into a lot of history, and who would have imagined that? I think it was just appropriate that somebody who, as a historical figure like your father, did something to consecrate a ground that is remembered in history. What was 1904? I think it was the Battle of Chungdam-Dong, and to cleanse the entire area. And now that is a religious hotspot now for everyone. How fortuitous that it should be your father who did something like that. Amazing.
To mention one thing more, those days there was a small hillock there. Probably it must be the Zong that burned down, and a lot of artifacts came out. On a small cow herd, cow herd, we used to drag this soil, and we used to find a lot. The moment we kept digging, we used to find swords and shield and helmets and And my father said, throw them away, don't. Had it been now, I would. I'm into antique collection. No, no. Oh, I feel like digging that place again. So he said, throw them away. We threw it,
Okay.
So sad. Anyway, later on, I found a very, very big lock and a sword and one, la toe.
Okay.
And probably it must have been for the roofing, a lot of red tiles.
Okay.
And then a big pillar.
Okay.
Which was all into, coal. So this was, and then, those days we had the Zökang la. I won't be surprised if your father was there those days.
Okay.
More la.
Okay.
We had this Zökang, means where all the government's things were kept there la.
Okay.
Just below my Hakang.
Oh, yes. Ila.
So Appa was in charge, I think.
Right. Yes, he was.
So that was a place where, it was a very mass Changlimithang. People think when you talk of battle, they think the battle was fought in Changlimithang where the ground is. But that was a very marshy area. I still remember. So then, the Zökang was there, the stores, the storage house or whatever. And that whenever there was a little function, government functions, the Tibetans used to kill all the pigs and cows, and that was a sort of slaughter area, just below our Hakang.
Right.
And I remember, besides that, on that hillock, there was so much of bush, and on this bush you could see red, green, the da shadi mola. So then this da, and then we looked down and you could see a lot of rice and all different kinds of curries, So then, of course, we did not know, we were very young. To be frank, I must have eaten some rice also probably.
Okay.
We were so young, we didn't know. And then anyway, a lot of epidemics, like in Bhutan.
Okay.
Especially in Thimphu and all these areas, there was a lot of people wiped out from many villages and then the 68 flood.
Yes. Yes.
Many things like that happened.
Right.
So every time when there was someone did a motapshe, every time someone, I don't know what you say in Bhutanese, motapni,
Yes. So they consulted the stars.
So whenever they did, Changli Mithangi Dönni. Every time Changli Mithangi Dön. So then after Chabji Dunjum, then Penlo Kimbo came, then Karma came 25 tukus la. The Chana, Penlo Kimbo came said, oh, if you Chabji Dunjum we can't how much. Nami Sami, Aniki Erina pura Jamso do, say. Nami Sami Sanda Begobe, Sumim disu do, say, la. Tengachani Poktodi that is there, but around us all water, marshy. So Ani Benedigi, then later on more after this, my father had built this monastery and lots of from our G to almost many very high reverend lamas have come there. We have the Bazaguru, the Chilung Tusumila, Bazaguru, Mani, Amindawa. Okay, like every year for a month we have thousands of devotees coming there. We feed them, they sleep there. So after 1 billion, that was 3 billion times more.
Okay.
They have to do the recitation of the mantra. So after all this, then like this, after this, a lot of old people said soon after that Hakang was built, the old Hakang, the Dungkur Hakang. Everything was calm. No, this thing. That was what a lot of people came and told him.
Okay. Wow.
Which is quite interesting. Of course, I also heard.
Extremely interesting. Yes, and
how far it's true, I don't know, but that's what I heard.
To come to think of it, yes, I remember my father talking about these epidemics, about the flood, when they had to practically pick up fish from Chamlingthang and throw back into the river and stuff like that. Yes, and then none of that has happened in recent. In fact, since the 70s, it's become a place of congregation and celebration. More or less. Oh, on a lighter note, please do some serious pujas because we have to have another Battle of Chungdam-Dong to fight on June 6th. Bhutan is playing against Guam football.
Oh yeah, sure. No. Please remember that. Mola.
So hopefully
you must remember that. The Guru statue is there.
Right.
And then, the 13 statues, those are standing there.
Okay.
It's the Guru Sambal Hinduma.
Ah.
Sammigi Dun Kachi beru drup se.
Las.
So ani benediki when you come down and you do your prayers like when the midup se mekane the guru of happiness, the guru of wealth, the guru of everything is there la.
Okay.
So ani is a lot of people come there for it's fulfilling animal la.
Las. I don't know if there's a guru of football, but I'm going to look for him.
Well, I was, like those days I was in the soccer also.
Right.
I played as a goalkeeper for 2-3 years.
Yes.
As per his message, come on, Mola. Then I used to pray. I think we used to win. Like,
okay. Please do that. All right, okay. Let's then move on to, so this is a Bollywood number now, but a classic again. Kishore Kumar's Chukar Mere Man Ko. Why is this on your playlist?
When I was in Kalimpong, like that, all these English songs are mostly the ones that I sang. I was more into English songs in Shillong.
Okay.
But in Kalimpong and Darjeeling, I was mostly into this Hindi and Nepali songs.
Okay.
So this was one of the first songs that I sang in school.
Okay. So let's check it out then. Chukar Mere Man Ko in the unforgettable voice of Kishore Kumar. Alright, not every day, but once in a week, voices of note get up and speak. They tell stories, these voices, Listen up now, listen up to this show for voices that move and voices that shape. This is the show, this is my mixtape. Alrighty, very interesting time over here on my mixtape, talking to my guest Tashi Norbu. We've been rolling back the years and even delving into important events in Bhutanese history and talking about the past at great length. And from the old generations, as unpleasant as it may seem, Tashi, I hate to say this, but we have to talk about, the later generations as well.
Yeah.
You experienced trauma of an extreme sort with, as you mentioned, an incident in your life that no parent would want to experience. Was that one of the reasons why you gave up on Tashi Nyangche for a while?
Sort of. As I just mentioned, yeah. One that, and the other one, as I said, after receiving such a prestigious award,
right,
and you're recognized,
right.
I feel it's, it's not worth moving ahead.
Okay. So
to
now,
be frank,
Las, I understand totally what you mean as well. Especially after all the effort and the good work that you and your family have put in, I would have imagined that there would have been some sort of recognition, I suppose. And it's sad that sometimes people like you who do these things kind of get forgotten, in the humdrum and in the rush of so many things that are constantly happening in this place. We're in a state of constant flux. Things are changing all the time, and sometimes we forget, again, like I said, to use the expression, the torchbearers of the past. We sometimes forget them because we're so focused on dealing with the new challenges. What is new? And in that respect, modern music also, you were lamenting about it. To a large extent, yes, the modern has to happen. There has to be development. There has to be change. But one of the things that you mentioned is how even the traditional forms are sort of getting diluted. If you take a look at, let's say, some of our mass dances, for example, now these have become entertainment commodities in many places, right?
Yes.
Some groups, they perform these in abbreviated forms, shortened way, just for the entertainment of, visitors that come to the country. What do you think about something like that?
Well, that I think also we did it also. Not others.
Okay.
When Tashi when they had to perform more.
Right.
Because we couldn't do a dance for 1 hour. People wanted to see the mass dance, so we had to shorten them.
Right.
Shorten them, and make a total change there because some of the best steppings and some of the best music were to put there.
Okay.
To make it look attractive in front of the tourist. So, and just like that, for instance, when they talk of the mass dances, you might have also heard of Achilham, which is a very, very rare dance by Dr. Thangtung Gelpo,
Las.
with the sheep skin.
Okay, I'm not very familiar with
wonderful.
it. Right.
Those are
Last.
wonderful. And those dances are done for almost 3 days.
Okay, wow.
While we had to make continue.
Last.
I believe you have to do it for 3 days till you could conclude. But we had to shorten them for half an hour
Yes.
or maybe for 15 minutes.
Right.
So that had to happen. We
Okay.
had no alternative.
So this is the point that I wanted to get to. The crux of the matter being that while traditional forms have to exist in their purity, for them to continue existing and being relevant in this age where all we want to do is consume, move on to the next thing, and we want to be constantly entertained.
Yes,
right.
yes.
So you have to cut some corners, right?
Now to talk of modernization, for instance, Kesang La is a very old song.
Okay.
And a band from California came here. They came as my guest. They did a lot of Bhutanese songs recording.
Okay.
And then they made that into a rap.
Okay. Wow.
Which, of course, I would love to bring it here one day.
Should have brought it.
Yeah, that was really nice. So, things like that we have to accept. I don't exactly mean to say that I'm also part of a modern thing.
Right.
Which, of course, I've composed a lot of, like, for instance, as I was just saying about Tashi Norbu, Chapter.
Okay.
It's in the modern form. Beautiful. People love it,
Okay.
Then
Right.
Minjung Dugi is on the Fourth King, one of the first patriotic songs on his master Mola,
Yes.
which was more into a modern thing because so it was like people loved it. So we had to do it like there was no alternative.
Okay. All right. Again, coming back to something that I just touched upon a while ago,
Yes.
your difficulties and your personal crises that you had to undergo. So you've stayed in the shadows for quite a while now.
Yes.
Now, but you also gave some indication in the beginning of the show that Tashi Norbu is like an institution in itself, and
Yes.
you have so
Yes,
much there in that house that needs to be brought out for people to see and for people to enjoy. What has brought about that change in thinking? Why are you coming out of the closet again now?
Well, to think of it, because it's quite painful. Sometimes I even thought if I should sell them off.
Okay.
But it's been years of collection, years and years of collection. And to sell that, what is money value nowadays, There's no value for money now. So then I thought, then everybody who I met kept saying, why are you not doing it? Why? Even the royal families are saying, why are you are the pioneer, you are the one who started. So many people, countless have passed out from there now. Some are in the recording studio, some are into the live performance, some are doing filming. So many people, they have passed out from Tashi Norbu and are now very successful in life. So for that matter, then I thought now, since everybody is all the time telling me that I should come out, people have been saying that Tashi Norbu is dead. Why? So I want to show the people that Tashi Norbu is going to come back from the dead,
Right.
From
like
the grave.
Phoenix, yes, the Phoenix.
Listen, I need your good wishes anyway.
Oh, always. You always have my good
and
wishes.
your good prayers.
Oh, always. In fact, as I, indicated right in the beginning of the show, you're somebody that I've always looked up to and I've appreciated immensely.
Thank you.
And you know that as well. In my early days of my career in Kinson as well, we had the occasion to share a conversation. I interviewed you. I wrote a story about you as well and about Tashi Norbu. I remember.
And do you remember we grew up together?
Yes, more or less. Yes.
Upper Mindu Mola.
Yes.
Tashi Mindu.
And you were being family friends again. You were always, you were always
like
one of.
Let's say we were not friends. We were like a family actually.
That's in many
literally
ways.
grew up together.
Yes, in many ways. So yes. Obviously, from my side, not just because of the personal connection, but because of the fact that I appreciate and I admire that the work you do, and not just from a personal perspective. I think it's important. I really do think it's important for Bhutan and for Bhutanese, especially so many of my listeners out there who are young, who have never heard of Tashi Norbu or Tashi Norbu. For them to be familiar with these names, I really do think that's important.
Yeah, actually, of course, for the youngsters. Why I came on, why I came to your studio, so that I feel that it could be an inspiration for the younger generation, for people who are hearing to what we are talking right now. More la, wait, those days they did this, that, things like that. And then, of course, not to forget of our days in during the swimming pool. You remember we used to sing over there, Mola.
Yes.
Lot of functions all the time.
At the swimming pool most of the time. Right.
But sadly, we don't see them anymore nowadays. We used to have English songs, Hindi songs, and a lot of Bhutanese songs. No more, Mola.
Imbella.
Those were the days.
Yes, I think it was more organic back then.
Yeah, and that was a time where we could see a lot of talents.
Right. True.
Coming up on stage. Which
all of a sudden unexpectedly.
We don't see them now anymore nowadays.
True. It's just become so manufactured and mechanical, I think, now, when you compare it to, what used to happen back then. Back then, you wouldn't know it, but some guy, who lived 2 houses away from you, all of a sudden you realize, wow, he's a great singer. I never knew,
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that would happen. Wow. Anyway, right. I also know, Tashi, that you are a person, how old are you now?
Past my 60.
Right, there you go. And you still don't sit still. You're a hand-oriented person. You keep yourself busy all the time, all the time. And I think that's something else that the youngsters need to know about you. That you can be well past your prime, but you can still be productive.
Yeah, very much. And of course, I would like to mention that after the production of I Want to Gay,
right,
I started noticing that it was very, very difficult getting costumes and ties, anything from household things to crockeries to costumes So then I started buying that.
Okay.
So gradually, what happened? Then a lot of people started coming to sell me their old things, like sword and.
So
then I have a big collection of.
Nice.
Where I'm planning to do a museum now. So where the younger generation could also see, not only the costumes of Laya, Sakteng, Bumtang, but also to see these antiques, because there'll be a time when they will not know what is the tiku, what is the tapal, or what is,
Yes, the other day, sitting with some young people, I made a reference to it, and sosum chamni
sosum.
They didn't know they didn't know what I was talking about.
Because we have stepped into a generation where we have now rice cookers to water boilers to, So they do not know what's all those, those things. They will even start asking, So Ngachara's own children will want to come and see those stuffs.
Right.
So I have a very huge collection where I'm trying to start up a museum. I don't know how far it will be successful.
Last. I wish you all the best with that. Always. All right, so we'll wind up with this final song, which again is a song that's associated to a large extent, I think, with your father. The what's it called?
Dagalam Lashu.
Tell us about this song.
It's about a maiden from Dagala,
Right.
A very beautiful lady.
Right.
Who lived by the lakeside, and it talks about her and her beauty and her, her daily life, and it's a very interesting song because it was never heard in Bhutan. Nobody was singing the song.
Okay.
Until my father taught us.
Okay.
And then then I started liking the song. The tune is so nice,
Last.
And the way it flows.
Right.
That's one song that even when I hear it being played now, I can still feel his presence. That sort of.
Last. Wow. So we definitely need to share that with the youth out there. Speaking of which, is there something particular that you might want to share with many of my young listeners out there?
Like a song or something?
No. Any message that you might want?
The message that my last message to the younger generation, to the youngsters would be, never lose hope. Always be active. Always see, as I said, I have stepped onto my, past my 60s more. Those days I was everything to, film, to music, to martial arts, to soccer, to everything. So now, as some people say, from hero to zero, but I'm not at zero. I'll still go on.
Right. I wish we had brought some of the artworks that you normally keep yourself busy with these days. I wish we had some samples to show you people. Of course, on radio it's impossible, but for you YouTubers. But let me just say this much. Take my word for it. It's fantastic stuff. It's like recreating real life scenes, objects, all sorts of things. That is something like engraving, but I don't know if there's a word out there for this.
It's very difficult to say but anyway, this is one art which nobody in Bhutan is doing that.
Right.
And I do not mind setting up an institution where I could pass it down to the younger generation. Okay, also that Mola, which of course a lot of people who have seen it have come and told me that, can we also learn? It's so nice, so interesting, and it's a mixture of so many glues and many things. Now I'm trying to do that taksang one.
Plus, you have to be extremely inventive, I think, to know what to mix up and all of that. Right. I know, Tashi Norbu, that you are a person who does not like to sleep early. You sleep very late and you keep yourself busy. I do wish that your life's work does not sleep early as well. That you continue to produce and that you continue to stay relevant. And I have no doubt that you will. And in every endeavor that you henceforth take part in, you have the best wishes of not only my best wishes, but of all of us here at Radio Valley. Sure. And I think I would take liberties, but I might say that many of my listeners out there, because I know how many of them very personally, I think many of them will have that same regard and that goodwill for you. Thank you so much for coming on.
All those who have listened, Mola, to our program, I also need their good wishes and prayers.
I'm sure you will receive them. Thank you so much.
Okay,
right.
Sir.
This show will be rebroadcast as always tomorrow and day after. You can catch, if you didn't listen to the show in its entirety and want to know what else happened earlier, so you can tune into the rebroadcast tomorrow and day after. Of course, you can catch us on the SoundCloud link on the Radio Valley Facebook page, and then I know this has been getting quite popular. This show's been getting quite popular on YouTube. So all your YouTubers out there, thanks so much. Don't forget to not just watch it, but as you watch it, like it and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.